I'm not a prophet, but sometimes I have prophetic dreams, like the one where I was at a garden party. Excuse me, everyone, I have a brief announcement to make. Jesus was black, Ronald Reagan was the devil, and the government is lying about 9/11. Thank you for your time, and good night.
No! That can't be true! Unhand me! Ow!
You're having that dream where you made the white people riot, weren't you?
But I was telling the truth.
How many times have I told you you better not even dream about telling white folks the truth? You understand me? Shoot. Making white people riot. You better learn how to lie like me. I'm gonna find me a white man and lie to him right now.
From its very first scene, the Boondocks invites us to laugh, but that laughter is never simple. Beneath the humor, Aaron Magruder holds up a mirror that reflects not just the present, but the long shadow of history. The Freeman family may live in the quiet suburbs of Woodcrest, Maryland, but their lives are haunted by echoes of slavery, segregation, and survival. What seems like a satirical cartoon about an outspoken child revolutionary, his mischievous brother, and their cantankerous grandfather is in truth a layered meditation on what it means to be black in America after centuries of bondage. As critics have noted, Magruder's work presented the black community's different facets, carving out characters who embody archetypes born from the trauma of slavery and its afterlives. Each character in the Boondocks is more than a personality. They are vessels of memory, carrying psychological scars that continue to ripple through generations. Huey Freeman stands as the isolated revolutionary, a child too wise for his age, burdened with the knowledge of injustice. Riley is the media-driven youth molded by hip-hop culture and the distorted values of fame and rebellion. Robert Grandad Freeman is the comfort seeker, clinging to stability even if it means compromise. Tom Dubois is the disconnected achiever, assimilating into a system that never truly accepts him. And then there is Uncle Ruckus, the self-hater, a grotesque yet revealing portrait of internalized racism. These are what we might call the 5 mindsets after slavery, archetypes of survival, resistance, and distortion, each struggling to make sense of a freedom that has always been incomplete. Through biting comedy and piercing satire, the Boondocks peels back the layers of these psyches, showing us how history is not past but alive, whispering through every laugh line and every punchline. The question that lingers is not just about the characters on the screen, but about us. Which of these ghosts still walk among us? Which mindset do we see in our neighborhoods, in our families, or even in ourselves? And what does it mean that, nearly 2 centuries after emancipation, these spirits are still here, shaping the contours of black life in America? Huey Freeman is the show's prophet in exile, a child who speaks with the cadence of Malcolm X, yet carries himself like an old soul who has already seen too much. With his afro and unflinching scowl, Huey embodies a kind of ancestral memory. He is only 10 years old, but his voice echoes centuries of resistance, quoting freedom songs, citing revolutionaries, and marching against the trivialization of black struggle in pop culture. In one of the series' most piercing moments, he confronts a resurrected Martin Luther King Jr., no longer the saintly dreamer of American myth, but a man disgusted by the complacency and contradictions of his own people. You don't want to be a because are living contradictions. Huey doesn't flinch at this harsh truth, he embraces it. For him, comfort is always the enemy of liberation. When others cling to illusions, Huey strips them away with brutal clarity. In an episode questioning a fraudulent election, he dismisses the process entirely, declaring, "The end of America." It is an apocalyptic response, but one that captures the exhaustion of those who have seen promises broken too many times. Huey trusts no institution, not government, not media, not even the schoolyard games of childhood. He walks alone, guided only by conviction.
Boy, what did I tell you? This is the new white man. He's distinguished.
Granddad, I do not sip tea with the enemy. You can force me to go, but you cannot force me to be someone I'm not.
The hell I can't!
Though barely old enough to play in the park of life, Huey is burdened with the memory of centuries. He reads, he protests, he critiques every image that turns black struggle into spectacle. Pop culture cannot pacify him, illusions cannot soothe him.
When that failed, Republicans tried linking Obama with 10-year-old domestic. Huey Freeman, after discovering the two were MySpace friends.
Did they leave each other glitter comments? The public has a right to know.
Okay, this is a little boy who thinks that Jesus is black, Ronald Reagan is the devil, and the government is lying about 9/11. Kids like this need to be on America's list, not our friend list.
Obama did his best to downplay the relationship.
Look, I have many friends on MySpace. I pretty much add anybody. I don't know who this Huey Freeman is, but he doesn't stand for what I stand for. And I denounce, I repudiate, and condemn him. Basically.
This isolation is not just personality, but history. Huey channels the lineage of radicals forged in the aftermath of slavery, those who believed freedom could not be begged for but had to be seized, often at great personal cost. Black Panthers, anti-colonial fighters, uncompromising voices from the margins. These are the spirits animating his character. Even his very name is no accident. Huey Freeman is a direct nod to Huey P. Newton, co-founder of the Black Panther Party, who once wrote that revolutionaries must be prepared to die for the people.
I tracked down the notoriously reclusive Huey Freeman here, where he lives with his grandfather and younger brother. The first thing I notice about Huey is his incredibly large hair. The second thing I notice is his permanent scowl. How does it feel to be labeled a domestic terrorist?
I'm retired.
So then, now that it looks like Obama is going to win, as a black African American, are you merely excited, or are you extremely excited that everything is going to change forever? I felt my sphincter clench and my scrotum contract in shock at his response.
I swear that boy just like to be miserable. He can't enjoy nothing. All he want to talk about is the Build-A-Bear group, the Federal Reserve, and all that. I don't know where he get that from. He didn't get it from me. I believe in hope and change.
So, if the election is fake, then what's really going on?
The end of America.
I felt despair so terrible, I briefly considered slitting my own wrists or bludgeoning myself about the head with a steel pipe or baseball bat. But I brought no blade, no pipe, no bat. What is wrong with letting people be happy? Can too much hope possibly be a bad thing?
Hope is irrational.
In Bavaria we have a saying, der Junge ist ja total bedient. It means this is the most depressing kid I've ever met in my life.
Scholars and critics have described Huey as a representation of black leftist thought and archetype of the angry prophet, whose clarity makes him both powerful and profoundly lonely. The flame of defiance that burns within him lights the way, but it also scorches anyone who comes too close. Huey's burden is that of so many radicals before him. To live furiously for justice is to accept alienation, to stand apart in a world more comfortable with denial than truth. And so the question lingers, could any of us live like Huey, unwavering, uncompromising, willing to be hated, misunderstood, or ignored if it meant refusing to betray justice? Or is his solitary fire a necessary but tragic fate, one that reminds us of the cost of seeing the world too clearly?
Describe Riley Freeman in one word.
I say real nigga.
Real nigga is 2 words.
I know it's 2 words, nigga. Real niggas don't follow instructions.
This is Robert Freeman's other grandson, Riley. He's empowered by the prospect of a black president, but not in the way society would hope or expect.
Oh, if my nigga Obama gets up in there, I'm gonna act a fool. I ain't doing no more homework, nothing. We taking over. Come on, what's the cop gonna do to me? I'ma be like, don't make me call the president. And the cops, he gonna be like, oh, snap, Riley a real nigga. The president's a real nigga. We can't do nothing. I can't wait.
If Huey is the prophet, Riley Freeman is the disciple of distraction. The younger brother baptized not in the fire of revolution, but in the flickering glow of music videos, gangster films, and internet bravado, where Huey's gaze is heavy with the weight of history. Riley's eyes glitter with cartoon swagger, reflecting every image that media feeds him. He is a child who mistakes imitation for identity, who builds his sense of self from fragments of lyrics and movie scenes. Riley parrots the slogans of rebellion, but without substance. For him, to be defiant is not to challenge injustice, but to scorn instruction itself. He sharpens the phrase "real niggas" like a weapon, and brandishes it with pride. Real niggas don't follow instructions. In those words lies the tragedy of his character rebellion without direction, resistance without memory. Where Huey questions, Riley mimics. Where Huey fights to uncover truth, Riley embraces illusion. His bravado is a borrowed armor, his swagger a mask stitched together from the fantasies of trap stars and hustler icons. Riley's rebellion feels loud and flashy, but it is hollow, a performance scripted by the very systems that profit from his confusion. Riley Freeman is not simply a child gone astray, he is the reflection of a generation shaped in the absence of rooted guidance, raised instead by television loops, record label fantasies, and online myths. He is the product of an America where distraction has become a form of control, and where the dream of liberation has been repackaged as the dream of fame.
I'm gonna get a chain.
Oh, of course. Now I get it.
Huey, you not a real nigga like me, see? You don't understand how bad a nigga need a chain. If I had a chain, everything in my life would be perfect.
But what happened to the chain that Aunt Cookie bought you?
Nigga, you know that wasn't no chain, that was a necklace. This'll be a real chain. Oh, man, I can't wait for niggas to start hating, I can't wait.
So you judge your success by the amount of ill will you generate from those around you.
Hey, if niggas ain't mad at you, then you doing something wrong.
By that definition, then, you have a very bright future.
Thanks, man.
Having been shown to be a nigga of impeccable character, I do hereby announce that Riley Freeman is officially part of the Lethal Interjection crew. All the hate and envy that I've collected with this chain over the years will now transfer to you. Now just remember what you represent when you have it on and be proud of it. There isn't a single member of the Lethal Interjection crew that isn't ready to die for his chain, nigga.
No, not me.
Well,
no thanks.
Except for Leonard. But he's me. Your chain, my nigga. Your chain.
Yeah.
I done came up, got my name up. So when they speakin' who blinged up, I'm who they bring up. Come up dissing and you'll come up missing. I'm a cutthroat baller like O.J. Simpson. Little homie, listen, try and serve me. I put a 25 in your back like Barry Bonds shirts. You on the streets or on the beach? Y'all ain't able, cause two of this shit on rappers like major labels. What's with the ice grilling, homie? Change your face, cause he done do more than tan you to change your race. Girls love metaphor, and I love them back. Addicted to getting head, chicks call me the brainiac. Battle rap with words raw like jihad. I write dope, flow crack, my notepad need rehab. Y'all see these, y'all can't see these or touch these. Rhyme so chronic, my songs give you the munchies.
In Riley's world, pulp idols are more than entertainers, they are sacred text. He kneels before the altar of Thugnificent, mimicking his every strut, curse, and rhyme as if the rapper's bravado were scripture. His devotion takes him to absurd extremes, like the infamous hotel tirade in a fit of anger. He spits out a profanity-soaked monologue. This is America. My president is black and my Lambo is blue. Now get the f*** out my hotel room, and if I see you in the street, I'm slapping the f*** out of you. What makes this moment striking is that Riley's line is not random at all. It echoes a lyric from Jeezy's 2008 anthem, My President. My president is black, my Lambo's blue, and I'll be goddamned if my rims ain't too. That lyric was itself a cultural crossroads, a celebration of Barack Obama's historic election, an affirmation of pride and possibility for the black community, and yet also an ode to material triumph, measured in luxury cars and custom rims. It reflected a duality, the collective joy of seeing the first black president in the White House, and the deeply American urge to display success through wealth. But when Riley repeats a fragment of this, stripped of context, it loses its historical weight and becomes pure posturing. For him, the Lamborghini is not metaphor but fantasy. The pride in political achievement is drowned out by the echo of consumption. What was once a cultural hymn balancing hope with material desire becomes in Riley's mouth a hollow taunt proof of how easily meaning can be flattened when media is consumed without reflection. On the surface, the scene is comedy, a child parroting the bravado of adults he idolizes, but beneath the humor lies tragedy. Riley does not grasp that the lyric he wields was born from a moment of collective pride, not just individual ego. He has absorbed only the material half of the message. His voice, though youthful, becomes the echo chamber of a system where aspirations for justice and aspirations for wealth are tangled together, often to the point of confusion. And this is the brilliance of the Boondocks. In one ridiculous outburst, it reveals the fragility of cultural memory. What was meant as both celebration and critique in Jeezy's lyric becomes for Riley simply another boast in his arsenal of slogans. It forces us to ask, when children inherit culture, are they inheriting its depth or just its surface shine?
This is the third time your boys have been caught fighting this quarter, Mr. Freeman. This time it was a brawl against 5 other boys.
What happened to him?
He got in the way.
You have 2 options, Mr. Freeman. The first is that both of your boys are expelled from school.
Ooh, I'll take that one. Pick that one, Granddad.
And, what's the other?
We send your boys to prison.
Who, though? Don't you think that's a little...
This is a permission slip for our Scared Stiff program. Delinquent students visit a real jail so they can interact with real inmates and see the real future that awaits them if they continue with their pathological behavior.
Ooh, I changed my mind, Granddad. Pick jail, pick jail, pick jail, pick jail. Please let me go to jail.
Riley Freeman becomes the embodiment of a modern plantation, not of cotton fields or overseers with whips, but of cable channels, viral memes, and hustler fantasies packaged for mass consumption. He is raised not by tradition or community, but by an entertainment machine that manufactures idols and scripts identities faster than families or schools can hope to intervene. The masters of this new plantation do not wear chains on their belts, they wear logos, record labels, and media empires, all profiting from the circulation of stereotypes dressed up as aspiration. Scholars and cultural critics have long pointed out how Riley mirrors the urban youth swept up in trap culture's most toxic exports. He absorbs the misogyny, the glorification of violence, the worship of wealth, mistaking these performances for authenticity. To him, manhood is not nurtured in wisdom or responsibility, but in bravado, dominance, and the accumulation of things. The danger, as Magruder's satire makes painfully clear, is that this is not just a parody of one child, it is a reflection of a cultural wound that spans a generation. Riley Freeman is in many ways the lost child of post-slavery America. He is unmoored from his history, estranged from ancestral wisdom, and instead tethered to the glow of a screen that beams false idols into his imagination. He clings to these images because they promise belonging, but they leave him hollow, a boy mistaking caricature for identity. And so the show forces us to confront an unsettling question. How many real lives, how many real futures have been shaped not by elders' teachings or community strength, but by the flickering visions of a media that profits most when its viewers confuse distortion for truth? Riley's tragedy is not only his own, it is the tragedy of every child who inherits a script written by those who never cared whether he survived so long as he entertained.
He is the socialist Muslim Antichrist.
This is Uncle Ruckus. He's an Uncle Tom, perhaps the biggest Uncle Tom to have ever lived.
If this nigga gets elected, America is over. You want this nigga in the same place William Taft and his big wife. She don't need to be in the White House. She should be in the WNBA shooting foul shots. You want my brick? You gonna have to pry it from my cold dead hand, Mr. Obama Hussein.
Uncle Ruckus is the Boondocks' most grotesque creation, a horror show archetype of internalized racism, the embodiment of what happens when centuries of hatred seep so deeply into the psyche that a man comes to despise his own skin more fiercely than any Klansman ever could. His very body becomes the cruelest satire of all. He insists he suffers from revitiligo, a fictional skin disease that makes him whiter with each passing day, as though even his flesh is fleeing its origins. In this absurd claim lies a haunting truth. Ruckus does not simply wish he were white, he imagines his body itself conspiring to erase his blackness. But Ruckus does more than nurse prejudice in private. He has elevated it to doctrine, crafting an entire theology around his self-hatred. For him, white supremacy is not merely a social order, it is a path to salvation. He preaches it with the fervor of a televangelist, promising that worth, dignity, even sanity itself are measured only in proximity to whiteness. His gospel is grotesque but revealing. In his twisted vision, redemption lies not in liberation, but in rejection of one's own people.
Ruckus, look. Ooh, baby, wow. Come on, Ruckus, hurry up, look.
Punch, monkey. No free ride, doctor. Coon lips.
Ruckus.
Jigaboo, woo, woo.
Ruckus.
But what?
What are you listening to?
Only the greatest country, western, and racist singer to ever breathe into a microphone. Mr. Jimmy Rebel. Go on, listen.
What did he just say? Oh, my God.
See that? That's nice, ain't it?
That son of a bitch, get this bullshit out of here. That's just sick.
What you saying, Robert? His music is responsible for the man you see before you today. He inspired my love for racist music. You know, sometimes I write my own racist songs. I think they pretty good, too.
Well, keep them to yourself. Nobody want to hear that shit, black fool.
Oh, yeah? Well, just cause you said that, I'm gonna go home and record them. So there.
Fine, get the fuck on.
I will.
Fine. As soon as we finish this game.
I think it's your move.
Ruckus is thus both parody and prophecy, a character so exaggerated he invites laughter, yet so rooted in history that the laughter curdles. He is the nightmare of slavery's legacy made flesh, a man who has so thoroughly internalized the lies of oppression that he has turned them into his religion, his identity, and his reason for being. Blackness, he insists, is synonymous with laziness, violence, and filth. What others recognize as centuries of racist lies, Ruckus parrots until they calcify into his own gospel truth. His mouth becomes a megaphone for every slur ever wielded against his ancestors. What makes this character so grotesque and so effective as satire is not just his hatred, but the conviction with which he delivers it. Ruckus is not simply repeating stereotypes, he has transformed them into a worldview, a faith system, a personal creed. His identity is inseparable from the venom he spreads, as though his entire existence is proof of how oppression can hollow out the soul until nothing remains but the echo of the oppressor's voice. Critics have described him as the Uncle Tom archetype raised to the 13th power, a caricature so exaggerated it becomes both absurd and terrifying. Yet beneath the absurdity lies a devastating truth. Ruckus is the living embodiment of slavery's cruelest legacy. He is the fantasy plantation masters dreamed of, black flesh with a white mind, a man so thoroughly colonized that he has become his own overseer. One writer calls him a projective manifestation of self-hatred, a wicked Jiminy Cricket, whispering slurs in his own ear.
Ruckus!
Robert, have you ever met somebody who seemed to like you, but it's only because they don't know the real you?
Yeah, that's pretty much every woman I've ever dated. So you met someone, huh?
Oh, yes, I did, Robert. Somebody very special. But I don't know, if it's all a lie, how far can it go?
Well, how big is the lie?
Well, I'm supposed to be a white man. Without revitiligo. You know what, Robert? You and everybody who live in your household.
Okay, Whitey.
On screen, Ruckus revels in this delusion. He tells anyone who will listen that being white is always an excuse and that black people deserve punishment. Even when a resurrected Martin Luther King Jr. mocks him, Ruckus takes no offense. Instead, he doubles down, joking that he'd have struck King himself, but the white man got better aim. It is gallows humor stretched to its breaking point, exposing a soul so warped that it rejoices in the violence that destroyed its ancestors, and perhaps that is the sharpest edge of the satire. Uncle Ruckus is wrenching precisely because he is not pure invention. He is a nightmare mirror, a grotesque reflection of what can happen when lies about blackness are repeated so insistently, so violently, that they burrow beneath the skin and begin to echo from within. He has no true community, no warmth or solidarity among those who share his struggle, no real acceptance from the white world he worships. He survives only as spectacle, kept around so long as his venom entertains or affirms someone else's prejudice, cast aside the moment his bile loses its usefulness. In Uncle Ruckus, the Boondocks gives us the image of a soul in ruins, a man broken so thoroughly by history that he finds comfort in the very chains that crushed his ancestors. He dances to the phantom crack of a whip, smiling as though it were music. His laughter is jagged and hollow, his sense of pride nothing more than an illusion stitched together from hatred. He lives as a parody of freedom, enslaved not by law but by belief, carrying a plantation in his own mind. And yet, within this grotesque comedy lies the show's most devastating question. What happens when oppression runs so deep it convinces the oppressed to celebrate their own erasure? What do we call freedom when it is built on forgetting, when the loudest voice in the room is the one that cheers for the very system that despises him? Ruckus is not just a character to laugh at, he is a haunting reminder of the psychological wreckage racism leaves behind, the smoking ruins of identity after centuries of degradation.
Now pick up the salt!
Pray, baby, pray. I'm next.
Ah! Drop the soup again?
Tom Dubois' greatest fear was being sent to prison, and at the tender age of 10, Tom saw a prison movie which depicted the violent of a man. Before then, he didn't know the men got in prison. It is true that statistically speaking, if a man is to be, it'll most likely occur in prison. That fact scares straight-laced Tom even straighter.
Let's steal some.
Well, what if we get caught? We'll get arrested and... Hey, guys. What are you doing?
Just smoking a joint. You want a hit?
Yeah, right. You guys can go to jail and get if you want.
Tom, did you erase all my MP3s?
Hey! File sharing is a crime, and I'm not gonna be so you can listen to Usher.
You know, Tom, this whole thing is really causing both of us to miss out on a lot in life.
But Tom didn't care what he was missing out on. Well into adulthood, Tom still lived his life around the fear of that fear, perhaps more than any other factor, made him the man he is today. Tom believed in order. He obeyed every traffic law. He had never as much as broken the speed limit.
You drive like an old...
Tom grew up to be a criminal prosecutor, which ironically enough meant his job was to send many black men to the very fate he most feared.
For the crime of selling 4 bootleg copies of Soul Plane, the defendant is sentenced to 2 weeks imprisonment. He'll be remanded...
No! Don't send me to prison, please! Please don't send me to prison! I don't want to be...
And Tom knew firsthand that a black man didn't have to do much to go to prison.
You have the right to remain silent.
Sometimes he didn't have to do anything at all.
Against you in a court of law. You have the right to speak to an attorney and to have an attorney present during any questioning. If you cannot afford...
Tom Dubois represents one of the most seductive promises dangled before Black America after slavery, the belief that discipline, education, and assimilation could buy true belonging. On paper, he is the embodiment of that promise fulfilled. A career as a successful prosecutor, a beautiful suburban home, a white wife, and a daughter he cherishes. Tom is polished, articulate, respectable, the picture of the American dream achieved. Yet the Boondocks makes clear that this image is brittle, held together by fear as much as ambition. Beneath the veneer of success lies a man quietly suffocated by the invisible boundaries of race, terrified that one misstep could strip him of the fragile comfort he clings to. Tom is not ignorant of racism, far from it. He sees it daily in the very courts where he works. But instead of fighting it, he turns inward, hiding behind his role as a functionary of the very system notorious for destroying black lives. He prosecutes, he complies, and he reassures himself he is simply doing his job. In reality, Tom has been captured by respectability politics, choosing silence over solidarity in order to protect the illusion of safety. One critic noted the irony with sharp clarity. He works with the judicial system that oppresses his own people. He steers away from his own culture and fits in with white society.
If he wins, I think it will literally be the best day of my life.
Tom and Sarah Dubois are also neighbors of the Freemans. They both work on the Obama campaign.
Barack has already changed our lives in so many ways.
How?
Well, I mean, it's no secret that me and Tom have had some problems in the past with our relationship.
Well, it's not like the whole world knew.
But I think ever since we started working together for Barack,
Things are totally different now.
Much better. And it's all thanks to Barack. He is such a wonderful, wonderful man. I just think it's about time we had a president who is smart and tall, charming, and strong, and fit.
Just like your hubby?
This isn't about you, sweetie.
It is always obvious when a couple hasn't engaged in normal marital relations for some time.
That irony is precisely what makes Tom so tragic. His posture of respectability is not armor but costume. It cannot protect him from the double consciousness, the aching split between how one sees oneself and how one is seen by the wider world. Tom is haunted by this dissonance. He has worked tirelessly to craft a life that screams success, yet deep down he knows that to many, he is still reduced to the same stereotypes he has spent his life running from. His smile, his suit, his suburban home, they are all part of a desperate performance staged on a shaky foundation. In Tom, the Boondocks holds up a mirror to a painful truth. Assimilation may promise safety, but it never erases history. For men like Tom, respectability is not freedom. It is a fragile truce with a society still shaped by inequality. And behind the mask of the accomplished professional lies an anxious truth, that no matter how high he climbs, he may never be allowed to forget the weight of the skin he wears. Episodes like the S word strip away Tom's polished exterior and force us to confront the fragile fear beneath. When a racial slur surfaces on tape, Tom unravels. His panic is not just about the word itself, but about what it reveals, that no matter how carefully he dresses, how flawlessly he speaks, how diligently he prosecutes in the name of justice, he will always be seen first through the lens of his blackness. For Tom, this is the nightmare he spends his life running from. The possibility that all his striving has bought him no escape from the oldest stigma in America. Even his young daughter Jasmine bears witness to his collapse, hearing in her father's trembling confession the shattering of the safety he once promised her. The mask slips, and beneath it is a man consumed by dread, forced to admit that the boundaries of perception are not his to control.
Tom, do you have something you'd like to share with the group? Why, yes, I do. My name is Tom, and I am no longer afraid of going to prison and being... That's fantastic, Tom. And to prove it, tomorrow I'm going to prison.
Did he say?
I've agreed to chaperone a Scared Stiff program. I'm taking a group of troubled youths to prison so they can mend their ways. Well, that's excellent, Tom.
Whoa, man. Are you sure about that?
Absolutely. I'm looking forward to it. See, Tom is going to face his fears head on, and he's going to walk out of that prison with his rectum and his peace of mind intact. Anybody want to come with me? No? Okay.
Honey, it is great that you're making so much progress with the therapy, but I just don't want you to think you have to prove anything to anyone.
Oh, honey.
Look, I'm not worried about your safety, but I'd hate for you to have a bad experience and go back to how you were.
You know, I was thinking about becoming a defense attorney. But how can I do that if I'm too scared to step foot in prison? How would I meet with the clients?
Wow, Tom, I had no idea.
Imagine it, sweetie. Saving people from instead of sending them to it. And that's what this trip is about. These boys need this trip. They don't fear jail at all, which means they'll probably end up there if no one does anything. Don't you see, honey? If I'm afraid to live my life, then the win. My is gonna be fine. And I'm gonna make sure those young boys are just fine too.
Pause.
Okay, guys, remember to stay with the group at all times. And remember, nothing metal in your pockets. The guards will take it away from you, and you won't get it back, okay? Okay, this is it.
All right. My name is Uncle Ruckus, volunteer corrections officer. Next up, Willie Horton, maximum security prison. Now, you white children, be prepared. This is gonna be like a trip to the zoo. But do not worry, your Uncle Ruckus will protect you. And as for you, well, this just gonna be like a trip to the future. So it should be exciting for everybody. Come on aboard.
Okay, we got him. All right. Wait, where's Riley? Riley, what are you doing?
Nothing.
Give it here. Come on. Riley, I am very disappointed in you. Now go get on that bus.
We going inside, Mr. Dubois. Anything can happen in there. I got to have my shank. You want me to make you one? I brought an extra toothbrush.
Now.
Man, if something happens, it's your fault. Anything can happen in there. If something happens, it's your fault. We going inside, Mr. Dubois.
The irony turns grotesque in the courtroom, where Tom, tasked with seeking justice, ends up parroting Uncle Ruckus's creed in defense of a predator who violated young black girls. We found out at an early age there was nothing wrong with being white. It is one of the show's most painful revelations. In that moment, Tom's posture of assimilation collapses into outright betrayal. His quest for acceptance, once framed as survival, curdles into self-denial so severe that it mirrors the very lies of his community's enemies. The Boondocks presents Tom not simply as a man caught between two worlds, but as a cautionary tale. The cost of chasing comfort in a society built on exclusion can be devastating. His life illustrates the limits of respectability politics, how easily the pursuit of safety and status can slip into complicity, and how assimilation, when taken to its extreme, does not bridge divides but deepens them. Tom Dubois is the dream deferred, proof that without confronting racism directly, even success becomes another form of captivity. Tom Dubois is not merely comic relief, he is satire with bite. Through him, the Boondocks skewers the fragile bargain of assimilation, the belief that if one climbs high enough, speaks carefully enough, or dresses elegantly enough, one can somehow slip free of history's grip. Tom embodies the black professional who has mastered every script of respectability, but whose success is haunted by a lingering truth. Slavery's legacy did not vanish when new doors opened. It merely reshaped itself, whispering new conditions, comfort in exchange for silence, opportunity in exchange for distance from one's own people. In this way, Tom is less a character than a living dilemma. His life forces us to ask, what is the true cost of upward mobility if it demands the abandonment of solidarity? Can material comfort ever be considered a victory if it requires swallowing the injustices that make that comfort possible? Tom is not malicious. He is frightened, cautious, careful, and yet his very caution becomes complicity. He prosecutes within a system designed to cage his own community. He sidesteps racism in order to preserve his place at the table, and in doing so he reveals the hollowness at the heart of the promise he embodies. Huey captures Tom's tragedy in a single weary sigh. You do what you can to help black folks, and they make you wonder why you even bother. The line lands not only as judgment, but as lament, a recognition that Tom's life is both warning and wound. He shows us how survival in a world built on inequality often demands unbearable trade-offs, and how the pursuit of acceptance can end not in liberation, but in a subtler form of captivity. In Tom Dubois, the Boondocks holds up a mirror to a painful possibility, that in striving to make it, one might lose the very soul such striving was meant to preserve.
You're gonna go, and you're not gonna embarrass me in front of my new neighbors, or I'm gonna beat your ass.
Why can't we be ourselves, huh? Why can't I be me? Are you ashamed of us?
Very.
We never asked to move here with your precious new white people, Granddad.
Didn't ask? Well, you didn't ask for us to be attacked by dogs and fire hoses so you can live here, but we did it anyway.
Here he go again with the dogs and the fire hoses.
We were attacked by dogs and fire hoses.
Were you attacked?
I don't know what difference that makes.
Because it's like the whole generation tries to take credit for what happened to some people.
That's ridiculous. Now, see, well, you know, what had happened was...
Oh, man. I missed it. Was it bad? Did they do the thing with the fire hoses?
What do you think, chump?
Damn. What's eating you?
A goddamn German Shepherd. That's what's eating me. Where was you?
I had to go back to the apartment because I forgot my raincoat.
This nigga went to get a raincoat.
I can't believe you.
We all been watching the same news. The police been doing this fire hose thing all week. I just assumed we'd all wear our raincoat.
Damn it, Robert. Who the hell shows up to a march with a raincoat?
Bet you wish you had your raincoat right now.
You son of a...
Who actually got hit with the fire hose ain't important. Now we're going to this party, and your black asses are gonna behave. If I'm lucky, I'll find myself a nice white woman with a flat booty who will listen to my problems.
Finally, there is Robert Grandad Freeman, the weary patriarch, a man suspended between memory and survival. He is old enough to have witnessed the fires of the civil rights era, yet he has no interest in keeping those embers alive. His life is not a sermon, not a rallying cry, but a quiet plea for peace. Once in Huey's imagination, Robert might have been a soldier of liberation, a clenched fist raised high, a voice in the struggle, but now his war is fought on smaller, more ordinary fronts, paying the mortgage, dodging debt collectors, and keeping his grandsons from plunging him into another disaster. Robert was part of the civil rights movement, debatable, but today his greatest desire is simply an easygoing life in the suburbs. His ambitions have shrunk to modest comforts, a recliner humming beneath him, a glass of whiskey in hand, and maybe a harebrained scheme that promises wealth without the burden of real struggle. He is no longer animated by dreams of freedom, but by the hope of quiet evenings unbothered. And yet the Boondocks refuses to let this retreat pass without critique. Robert's compromises expose the shadow side of survival. He gambles away security, sells the family restaurant to a predatory landlord, even allows himself to be tricked into literal slave labor, accepting humiliation if it means keeping a roof overhead. The satire bites because it strikes so close to truth. Robert is the archetype of the survivalist who has learned a brutal lesson, that open rebellion may leave you destitute, while compromise, however bitter, at least lets you rest. Robert's life then becomes more than comedy. It becomes allegory. He represents those who traded fire for safety, who tucked away their rage because the costs of defiance were too high. His is the weary logic of a man who has seen too much and decided that peace, however compromised, is better than another fight. In The Black President, the fault lines come into sharp relief. Robert dismisses Huey with a smirk, claiming the boy likes to be miserable because he cannot simply relax and enjoy the small pleasures of life. But Huey's retort slices through the air, "You can't force me to be someone I'm not." In that brief exchange, the generational rift becomes visible. Robert has learned to live with a broken world by retreating into comfort. Huey refuses to barter his principles for peace. Theirs is not just a family quarrel, but a clash of philosophies, survival through compromise versus survival through resistance. And caught between them is Riley, the child of the media age, adrift in distractions, pulled by both but committed to neither.
Nobody knows exactly how old Robert Freeman is. Not even Robert Freeman himself. But his age is estimated somewhere between 80 and 120 years old.
This is what me and my generation, but mostly me, struggled for, sacrificed for. You can say personally, individually, paved the way for. The dogs were after us, so I took off my belt and started whipping on the dogs. Then I started running. Then I looked behind me. Jesse Jackson was supposed to be there, but he had jumped into a dumpster hiding. That punk ass.
I find it difficult to determine whether Robert is a pathological liar or suffering the early stages of dementia.
Robert Freeman then cannot be dismissed as mere comic relief. He is an archetype, a symbol of weary compromise, those who lived long enough to learn that bending might be the only way to avoid breaking. He embodies the men and women who survive by lowering their gaze, choosing the smaller dream of stability over the dangerous pursuit of liberation. His craving for normalcy is not apathy, but a strategy, one born of exhaustion. Yet it is a strategy with a cost. Every deal struck with wolves leaves you a little less whole. The tragedy of Robert's character lies in this uneasy balance. He is not evil, not even cowardly. He is human, carrying the scars of a struggle that convinced him rebellion leads only to hunger and loss. But the Boondocks forces us to ask, what is the price of peace if it is purchased by silence? What do we surrender when we choose comfort over truth? In Robert, we see the burden of compromise, the wisdom of survival, yes, but also the quiet erosion of hope. Taken together, these five minds, Huey's uncompromising spark, Riley's media-soaked trance, Ruckus's self-obliteration, Tom's anxious assimilation, and Robert's weary compromise sketch not just characters, but a fractured atlas of black survival after slavery. They are more than quirks of personality. They are archetypes, survival strategies forged in the crucible of oppression. Each one carries echoes of real history, real choices, real wounds. In exaggerating them, the Boondocks does not distort reality so much as sharpen it, holding up a mirror that reflects both the absurdity and the tragedy of how people navigate a world that was never designed for their freedom. As one commentator notes, its stories are satires based on real events or scenarios familiar in African American life. The laughter the show provokes is never simple. It is laughter with an aftertaste tinged by the recognition that the joke cuts close to home. This is where the brilliance of the series lies. It refuses to flatten the complexity of black life into a single narrative. Instead, it multiplies it, dramatizing the contradictory paths that slavery's shadow carved into the present. One character rages, another retreats. One assimilates, another disowns. One survives by bowing his head, another insists on standing tall even at the cost of peace. Together they form a mosaic of strategies, none complete and none unscarred. The Boondocks does not end with answers, but with questions that stretch far beyond the boundaries of satire, beyond the frame of the screen. Which of these five ghosts still walk among us today? Do we hear Huey's militancy in the chants of a protest march, where anger and hope collide in the streets? Do we see Riley's bravado in a viral tweet, chasing clout and drowning pain in spectacle? Do we catch Ruckus's venom in a talk radio tirade? His self-hatred repackaged as entertainment? Do we recognize Tom's careful silence in a corporate boardroom where truth is swallowed for the sake of advancement? Do we sense Robert's weary shrug in the quiet compromises we make each day when injustice feels too vast to fight? The uncomfortable truth is that these archetypes are not trapped in animation. They breathe in us in the ways we resist, the ways we adapt, the ways we fracture, the ways we turn away. They echo in our families, they shape our institutions, they whisper through the choices we make when no one is watching. Each archetype is a survival strategy, but also a burden, a pattern inherited from a history that promised freedom, but left scars too deep to vanish. That is why the Boondocks never ties its stories into neat bows of resolution. Instead, it leaves us unsettled, suspended in reflection. It dares us to look inward, to confront the possibility that these caricatures are not just them, but also us. Which mindset do I recognize in myself? Which mindset lives in my community? Which mindset shapes my nation? And perhaps the most haunting question of all lingers after the laughter fades. If slavery's shadow still shapes these archetypes, still molds the ways we fight, the ways we flee, the ways we bend, the ways we break, then what does that say about how far we've truly come? And what does it demand of us if we are to move further still?